Adolf Hitler, Berlin, September 30th, 1942. There was a time when the Jews in Germany also laughed at my prophecies. I do not know whether they are still laughing today, or whether they have been cured of their laughter, but take my word for it, they will stop laughing everywhere.
Colonel William Quinn, US 7th Army, Dachau, April 29th, 1945. There, our troops found sights, sounds and stenches horrible beyond belief, cruelty so enormous as to be incomprehensible to the normal mind.
Barack Obama, Auschwitz, March 22nd, 2013. If you come here 1,000 times, each time your hearts will break. For here we see the depravity to which man can sink, the barbarity that unfolds when we begin to see our fellow human beings as somehow less than us, less worthy of dignity and life. We see how evil can, for a moment in time, triumph when good people do nothing.
It is estimated that over 11 million people were killed during the Holocaust, equivalent to the entire population of Portugal. 6 million of these were Jews.
The Nazis killed approximately 2/3 of all living Jews in Europe.
An estimated 1.1 million children and babies were murdered during the Holocaust.
It doesn't seem real until you're there. No matter how many times you read about it or how many films you watch about the Holocaust, it just doesn't seem to really hit you until you're there. And then that's when you realise that it's not just a fictional event that is used in TV and books. It actually did happen.
Yeah, it was a pretty massive thing. We were all just completely overwhelmed being there. It was really hard to take in kind of the scale on which it had happened, because it took us a whole day to do it, and we first went to the work camp and then we went to the death camp, and it was a massive amount to take in one day.
It's an experience I don't think that you can prepare yourself for. Like, no matter how much you know about the Holocaust, actually going there is a totally different experience.
When you see it for yourself, that's when it really hits home.
When they opened it, they made the gas chambers specifically to kill people. They made it so that they could use them as killing houses. Because in Camp 1, the gas chamber was a makeshift one out of a bunker. But in Camp 2, the amount of people they could kill in those things was incredible.
The feeling of it when you're there, you get a real understanding of it. It makes it real. It really hits home. And seeing things like the ash pools where always millions of people in the pools, and that's just all that's left of them, and they're just there forever and trapped. And while we were there, a group of kids about our age came over, and they all stood around and they were held hands, and they were singing and they were crying. And it was horrible to see that was all that was left of their relatives that had been involved in it. And that's all they had to remember them by, and it wasn't even personal, it was just everyone in one pit in the ground. And it really hits home how it's still going on, and it really upset me that that's all that was left. It was so kind of undignified.
Seeing just kind of the remnants of people's lives, that's like a few things, and it's just, you look at it and then that really, that draws to you that they were people here, and they had lives and they had friends just like us, and they experienced that.
Like I said, the scale of it, just these thick cabinets that go on for as far as you can see, just full of shoes. And in one of them, I remember it so vividly, there was this little girl shoes, like absolutely tiny, with all these flowers embroidered around the edge of it. And that just shocked me so much, because I realised how little, that children and babies were involved as well.
All the shoes, all the bags, the combs, everything that us as ordinary people have.
Really silly things like taking away their hair and the prosthetic limbs and stuff. It was just completely unnecessary. It really gave you a feel for it wasn't just a killing thing. It became unnecessary, almost torture. And then there were facts about taking other inmates of the camps and getting them to incinerate all of the bodies so they knew what was coming to them. And just the treatment as well as it wasn't just about death, it was about torture.
It was hard to realise how bad they were living and how little pity anybody seemed to have on them.
And kind of the feeling of you wish you could do something, but obviously you can't. But it's kind of not being able to escape it because it's there.
The last gas chamber there, which was a bunker, we were allowed to go inside it, and it was weird going in there because that's the place where thousands of men, women, and children have been killed. It was a sort of weird feeling to be in that same room as where they died.
It was sad to see some of the things I saw, but the feeling of disgust that these things happened in the first place sort of overpowered the feeling of sadness.
Because if you told any old person who didn't know anything about the Holocaust and you told them all the things about it, they wouldn't believe you because it's such an unbelievable atrocity that happened. It's like I sort of learnt to listen to these things and comprehend the large scale things.
It was incredible to have stood where millions of people were killed unjustly, and I think it was the atmosphere of being there and looking up at the little hatch where they put the gas in, put the Zyklon B into these chambers, and seeing the furnace in the adjacent room to it. That was very emotional. Seeing that, it made me question why anyone would feel so much hate towards a human being like that.
I found that I reacted with kind of a sorrow and a longing to wish that I could help. Yeah, I think it was important that we went on it.
But some people don't sort of believe you, and when you try and explain it to them, it's really hard to because you can't really imagine it unless you go there yourself.
I think it's really important that I went on this emotional journey because it makes you realise in one way how lucky you are that we have all these rights, and it's such an important part of our history in Europe. And I think the more people that see it, the more people that understand it, I hope maybe that will help it from happening again.
It was only after I thought about everything that I realised what I just experienced. It was amazing, the power of it all. Yeah.
The Holocaust was a horrible event in history, and if we don't learn from our mistakes in the past, then they can become our future.
We need to improve our education in society if people seriously believe that Holocaust and genocide is acceptable in the world we live in today.
No one's learned from the past about how it doesn't ever come to anything good, and it doesn't solve the issues that they want to solve, and it doesn't create the vision of perfection that they have, and just continues with a horrific, imperfect situation for everyone.
Nobody in the world deserves to die. It's innocent people especially, and I think we need to work to stop it.
I would say that people need to stop fooling themselves that things like this won't happen to them or won't happen in their lifetime, because these things can happen, and it's important that we're aware of this so that we can stop it in the future.
And that murder is no way to solve conflict. Enough people in the world have suffered, enough innocent people have died. We don't need any more brutal and harsh, unjust killings.
Nothing is comparable to the Holocaust and its still ongoing effects. It shows us just what the human race is capable and incapable of doing.